I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. I'm your host today, Luke Torkelson. To my left, I've got Tyler, our marketing manager, and 2 special guests that just finished up a little bear hunt situation over the weekend, Mack and Keaton. Mack's been on the podcast quite a bit, our content guru. And Keaton, you've been on once or twice before.
Yeah, one podcast.
Keaton's one of our ballisticians, so he's got an awesome beard. If you're not watching the podcast on YouTube, you'd miss out on that. So, Mack, I last saw you, I think, Thursday, and you were like, I'm headed to the woods.
Headed to the bear woods. It's May here in Wyoming, and at the time of this podcast, bear opened about a week ago now.
Yeah,
So
just about a full week.
it was the first weekend to get out. Took Friday off, and me and Keaton went up to a spot we found some bears last year and decided to get into see if we could get into some Bruins. So,
All right, so it's Tuesday now, so that was a relatively shortish hunt. But, yeah, I mean, we're in Sheridan, Wyoming. You're hunting in Wyoming, but that's as much as people are going to get.
Yep.
But
this was actually Montana.
Was it?
No.
Idaho.
Yeah,
Idaho?
it was Idaho. Yeah.
One of the states in the West.
One of those western states. But yeah, we scooted up. I took Friday off. Keaton was finishing up stuff here, working that day, so I went up that call it afternoon probably. Tried to help the wife with the baby, so it probably scooted up around 12 to 1. And it's a nice thing about being right here. You know, we can scoot right up in these mountains. I know Tyler's been hunting right after work quite a bit with these long summer or spring days.
Killed a turkey after work and had time to mow his yard.
I did. It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty
You
great.
must have a small yard because mine takes me like 3 hours.
It's not huge, but
I just got to spend some time with some friends from the South, and they're like, dude, what's wrong with this place? It doesn't get dark till like 10 o'clock.
yeah.
No,
When
it's
I was
awesome.
trying to explain to some of my friends from back east, like my hunting scenario of being up at 5 a.m. and then not going to bed till 9:15, or like till dark's like 9:15, they're like, "What? Like, what's wrong with your timeline?" It's like it's just different out here.
I drove to
built
Casper last Saturday morning. The sun was literally like showing signs of coming up at 4:30. Like you can see like the horizon starting to change at 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, this is nuts.
I was in the tent and I woke up at like, it was probably 4 a.m. to coyotes howling.
Just going to
and
town.
I was like, why can I see?
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So there's a lot of daylight right now.
Yeah. So, and it makes the bear days long, especially during the heat, during the middle of the day. But, so we scoot out. I'm up there just glassing from noon to whatever. And I know Keaton's on his way up. We're in a spot where we didn't have to hike an insane amount. I have service, so it's like, he's keeping me updated on that. I'm like, no, I haven't seen anything yet. Got a few stump bears. And this is Friday. So eventually he gets up there and joins me, and we've got a real good knob. We've seen bears here before, and we're going to bait. We apply for bait sites this year.
This is a personal question. I remember last year you guys had a picture of like an absolute like 55-gallon drum of a bear, like just a full barrel. Is it the same area, like same?
Similar area,
Okay.
but we haven't seen him yet this year.
That guy was large.
Very large.
It was a big boy. So similar area, yeah, and same area that we chased a chocolate bear last year that we weren't able to get on. And so I'm just up there glassing, just hanging out. Pardon. And Keaton comes up and joins me. I've been glassing for several hours. I haven't seen anything.
How far are you walking in?
Oh, we're touch over half mile.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a quick little glassing knob. You get up there. You could afternoon hunt after work if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. I broke off here at like 3, and I was up there in a couple hours. So
I was gonna say I sent you a text at like 5 and asked if you had seen anything yet, and
Yeah.
kind of gave you the good luck before I lost service.
Yeah, and at that point, and Tyler was bear hunting too at that time in a different spot. But at that point, I didn't even see anything alive, elk or nothing. We normally see elk up there, not a lot of mule deer actually up there,
none.
but nothing alive to that point. So Keaton comes up, and we're just glassing. And this is first night, and I am not the kind of guy that ever sees the thing I'm after on the first night. So I'm pretty much expecting us to go through Sunday and maybe see one small bear or a mama with cubs like a mile and a half away and be like, oh, well, that was neat.
Yeah.
Keaton's over glassing off to my right, and I come over to join him. And he's looking at a really good hillside here. I'm looking down the drainage. I saw this chocolate last year, and I don't even see anything. Like, I'm not a good naked eye person. I'm good behind the glass, but I'm not. He'll spot an elk 2,000 yards away, be like, there's elk on that hill. I'm like, how did you see that? So I just pulled up to a random spot, and then all of a sudden, 300 yards away, maximum, big black bear, jet black, brown muzzle. I was like,
Instant, like, yep.
instant, like
Need
no
to
like
get ready.
thinking about it. Like, sometimes you look at the stump and you want it to grow legs. It was like, it was close enough and moving. It was like, oh my gosh, that's a black bear. Let's do this thing.
Since you walked over there, did you have your rifle like right beside you?
No, of course the rifle and the camera and everything was sitting over there. So I, like an idiot, immediately pull. I never do this, but I've never shot a black bear, so I was pretty excited. Like, I've been chasing them for 3 or 4 years and not gotten on one. Pull down my binos immediately. I'm like, Keaton, black bear, black bear, black bear. And didn't mark the spot at all with my eyes. I was like, oh, no. No, and he was like literally walking through like a 10-foot clearing, like through the trees, like not on just a broad hillside. He was like walking towards us through a clearing and then going back into timber.
How far from Keaton are you right now?
We're right next to each
yeah,
other.
we were standing right next to each other.
He
And
had-
I actually didn't see the bear immediately. All I know was Mack got
So,
very excited.
so
about
I've
this
been
one.
I've been on a lot of hunts with Mack, and there's like we're glassing for mule deer, right? And all of a sudden he's like, deer, deer, deer. I'm like, what? Tell us. He's like, it's a doe. I'm like, why'd you get so excited? I can only imagine the excitement level from Mack with a large bear.
That sounds made up, but
I don't know. When you saw that moose shed a couple weeks ago, you
I
got
took a sharp intake of breath. I went. I did the same thing actually. I found an elk shed on this. I was like, sorry, I didn't see a bear. I just saw an elk shed.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
He gets really excited.
But hey, to my credit, I'm not a false alarmer. I'm not the guy who's like, stop the truck, I spot something.
No, usually there's actually something. It's just what the something is.
I just like seeing animals, Luke. I get a little excited, okay?
It's all good.
So pull up, see the black bear, immediately put my binos down, tell Keaton, go grab the gun, go grab the camera. Realize I didn't locate him at all. I'm like, crap.
Had you guys established like who's shooting? You both have
Spot
a
him,
tag?
you got him.
Yeah,
So,
spot
Bottom
him,
got
got
him.
him.
Okay.
but I knew he was close, and he was walking towards us, and we were up above him to a great degree on this cliff. But our wind was going towards him, so I thought that was pretty odd. I've seen black bears on several hunts, work hunts, or my own, and you'd be a half mile away, and they'll stick their nose up in the air, and they're like, I'm out of here. So
Especially the big ones.
yeah, the smart ones. Yeah. So we glass. I think I kind of locate where I had seen him. So it looks kind of similar, and light's kind of fading at this point. We're getting to the evening. It's probably 6:30. And we're so that's not that light here, dark here, but we're behind a hill, so it's on the shadowy side of a hill, so it's getting a little darker.
Yeah.
And
It's a very long sunset behind the mountain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Keaton had a good idea. There was a little rock like outcropping up above us. He's like, hey, let's get up on that. We can kind of look down into this timber maybe. So we went ahead and scooted up that, and we're looking. It's
Hold on. I got another question. Now that you've lost sight of it, is it a re-spot it you got it, or is it the same?
We didn't determine that, but we didn't have to.
Nope.
Okay.
I'd say usually if you're the first guy and it's a pretty good doubt and without a doubt that it's the same one, usually.
Just clarifying.
So we're glassing down in this, and I just happened to look up to our right because we're kind of on a spine. I look further up the spine on these cliffs, and then standing on the edge of the cliff, 230 yards away from us, is that bear again. Just he must have
like standing on all fours, or I mean on his back legs standing, or
no. But like you know, the Lion King, the rock juts out. He's just like standing
he's on Pride Rock.
Just pretty much just hanging out like, and so see him mark the spot this time. Immediately start getting down and getting on the gun, and he must have smelled us, I think. And sort of come up because he was looking right at us. And
how far is this?
230.
Oh wow!
They don't have great eyesight, but I think he probably smelled something down there and got up parallel and got a little high to see what was going on or whatever. And so he's sitting on this rock, and one thing leads to another. We're getting on him, trying to film it, do whatever. He's only presenting like a frontal, and I had waited on two bears last year that I wanted a better shot on.
Yeah.
And didn't get to shoot those bears, so I was like, this bear's getting it.
Game on.
Getting it. I was shooting a sort of a custom Mark V that I borrowed from the office with a 262 hammer in the 338 Weatherby RPM. So good bear medicine that Tyler just took a bear with about a week ago.
Yeah, it's got 2 notches this spring.
It's got 2 notches. I'm going to scratch him into the stock in a Bastion stock. So that was a sweet gun to carry around too. Suppressed 18-inch barrel. Like, pretty awesome gun for bear hunting. Take the shot, frontal. Keaton's behind me, filming and watching. He's like, dude, you goosed him.
Keaton, walk me through
rightfully
that.
so, because this bear got hit, and immediately it just hit the shutoff. And this thing takes a fall off the edge of this cliff. It's got to be 40 feet plus. We never did range from top to bottom of this cliff, but this bear just nosedives off this cliff. Hits the bottom. I'm like, he's done. That's the end of it right there.
Right.
A little more to come on that, but yeah. So
I wanted to talk. You're also trying to film this too, right? I got little snippets of this, and you said you had some camera issues, or
pulled out the long lens, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get on this bear. He's just staring at us. He's not moving. I don't think he really knew what he was looking at that point.
Sure.
Or if he even smelled us, because he stood there for quite some time. Got out the long lens, clicked the camera on, no memory card.
That might have been my fault.
Like, oh no.
If only that was your day job.
I'm really, really particular, like going into work hunts, like make sure I have this, make sure I have this, make sure I have this. On my personal hunts, I'm like, throw it all in the bag.
Yeah.
We're going.
We just got to roll.
So kind of my fault on the camera gear situation there. I didn't have a card in the long lens. I had a card in the other camera, but then, you know, I think in my brain, I'd run cameras.
Were you on which?
I borrowed an FZ80.
Nice. Okay.
And then I had my Sony for the other stuff. And, but I had an ND filter, a variable one that you twist, which basically, for anybody listening who doesn't know anything about it, basically makes the screen brighter and darker for your exposure on the camera. And I'd been filming in full daylight last clips I took.
It was like black.
It was like black. Blackity black. And he's looking at a black bear on a cliff in the shade. So, you know, I'm proud of Keaton he got it on camera. I might have to do some brightening in post, but
just a little bit.
It's mainly my fault because we would have had a perfect kill shot that
way to own it.
Could have made some Weatherby highlight reels had I put a memory card in the camera.
It just dumped him pretty fast, but he went off the backside, you said, of where
we
he was
saw
standing?
him fall.
Oh, you saw him. He fell towards you.
He was parallel, basically.
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
We're
So
looking up the spine.
We're kind of in a bowl on a rim rock, and he's on that rim rock with us. So yeah, he fell off down into the bottom of the bowl. Watched him tumble for quite some time too. We thought he was piled up down in the bottom. You would imagine the way that he dropped that he's just dead down there.
I'm on the gun, so I don't see any of this. He's watching him.
Foreshadowing.
He's like he went into those trees, man. He didn't come out. He's in there somewhere. We go over to the cliff. Keaton finds the blood,
which is kind of rare. I've been on a lot of bear hunts, and like there's rarely blood.
It felt rare for 2 reasons, and I was really happy we were able to find it because, one, we've seen those hammers in action. They kill stuff.
They do,
but they don't leave a blood trail.
Sometimes they don't leave the best blood trail.
Like,
but you often don't need it.
You often don't need to track, but it can be a feature of them. But they're totally lethal.
Especially
totally
a big
accurate.
bear that's a fatty bear. They just like the hole gets plugged by their fat and they don't bleed, and then their hair's so thick they don't. They do bleed, it doesn't. You got to bleed a whole lot before it starts to drip.
I largely think the reason I've never seen a frontal bear shot yet on a hunt, personal or work. We had really good blood, so that was really fortunate. So we're tracking this bear. and he took a nose
Feeling
dive.
good about it.
Feeling good about it. Yeah, a lot of blood. And we're looking at lots of blood and dark red, good blood. But we to back up, we did the smart thing. We waited 30 minutes. We set a timer. It was like, hey, this is a predator or any animal, but especially bears. Like, we're gonna let them go down there, get all tightened up, and just expire. So we start tracking him. We have good blood. After a point, we're like, okay, he's bleeding a ton. But we noticed, like, okay, one, I was like, Keaton, these are paw prints. He's not rolling.
Oh, he's up.
And two, you don't roll sideways on a hill.
Good point.
These are all signs.
He has defied gravity.
Yeah, started. So, and we're not super far into the blood trail at this point. It's 100 yards maybe. So it's like, okay, he could have been alive at this point, but he's going to be tumbled up. We're going through thick stuff. You and I, Luke, have done some bear hunts. They go into that thick stuff when they're going to die or they get wounded. And, I couldn't see to the podcast wall.
The Bermuda Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle, precisely.
I've never heard that before, but that is great.
Yeah.
That's from a previous hunt.
Yeah. I legitimately lost a bear in a
Triangle patch of trees.
It was like a barren hillside with a 1 acre patch of trees. And we had people watching. He never came out, and we legitimately could not find him in the Bermuda Triangle. We spent
2 days.
5 people. Yeah. It was so thick, it would be hard to see us right now.
Yeah.
It was bad.
It was stupid.
Yeah. So bears kind of do that. They'll go into that thick stuff, and that's where they like to die or go when they're wounded. And but we're being smart about it. I've got, and at this point, I normally take my 300 Weatherby. I was doing some work on it, so I borrowed the work gun, and I'm actually really glad I had that shorty, because even with a suppressor on, that thing's like a 23, 22-inch barrel with the Raptor 8 stack, I think. Real maneuverable in those woods.
That's the AB suppressor.
AB suppressor, yeah. And basically, one thing led to another. We come to this little 10 by 10 clearing, and I kind of look down to my left, and through the trees, 10 feet away, is black. But the black is moving.
Oh, that's fun.
On its feet. Immediately, the scope, I had put it back to 0, put it down to 2.5 power, dumped 2 at it. At that range, I assume I hit it. Have no idea. But it got a bit western there. Like, we were like, he might be alive after we tracked it for a while.
How far?
Like 10, 15 feet.
10, 15. And at this point, I can't see the bear. All I see is
he's right behind
Mack
me.
just starts going nuts.
Level off and start freaking out and dumping rounds.
Do you have a pistol or anything?
Yeah. I've got one hand on a gun and one hand on a camera, and I'm looking for this bear, and I still can't see him. I can hear him, but I cannot see him.
What?
It was a little, yeah. I mean, black bears, it was a big boar black bear. Like, I'm not the person who's real nervous around bears or anything like that, but you got to be smart. And it was like, that's not the situation I want to be.
Bear.
Yeah. Not the situation you want to be in. So fire 2, and then we just hear crashing and breaking and just.
So he's just running.
Yeah, just running. Fortunately, not at us, but we don't know. And then so we stop and sit still for a while, and we're in a small clearing, so it's a little unnerving because we can't see around us real well. And then we're like listening, just getting quiet, trying to hear if we can see if he's moving or anything like that. We just start hearing.
Death moan is impending.
Yeah. Or angry bear that I just missed twice and made even angrier. Getting ready to come and mess up our day. So we're trying to play it smart, and we're like, all right, it's time to back out to a big clearing.
So are you guys like, did you talk it for a second?
Yeah.
Like adrenaline's high right now.
It's like, I've been on personal bear hunts. I've been on a few work bear hunts, and you're always worried about it. It's always a thing. You want a bear to be expired when you walk up on it, and I know it's a thing that happens. You just never kind of think it's like, it's never going to happen to you,
Yeah.
And super, fortunate that he didn't do anything crazy, like decide he was angry and charge or whatever. And
he was angry.
He was probably pretty angry, but he lost a lot of blood. That probably helped. So we're like, yeah, adrenaline is pumping. Like, we're, a little shaky. Keaton, I was like, hey, point your gun there. I just dumped 2 rounds, and I had already fired 1. I hadn't reloaded, so I got 1 round left. I was like, point it there. I'm going to reload. We'll just do that. And then still hearing him breathe, we're like, okay, we're going to back out of here. And
How far away do you think you are?
Since we could hear him breathing?
10, 15 yards is what it sounded like to me. But at that point, you're just assuming that he's very, very close.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was close enough you could hear the blood gurgling in his lungs as he was breathing.
So
that's pretty wild.
It was a little spooky. And all this to be said, we were trying to track him and find him. It's now, we shot him at 7. It's now 8.
It's
And
about
sunset
8.
is
We had
8:30?
about 20 minutes, and we looked at each other and said, in 20 minutes, we're leaving here no matter what. We're not going in here after a wounded bear in the dark.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was kind of like. What did y'all talk? Would you
We'll-
figure out a plan?
We're confident that he will die from the amount of blood loss and falling off a cliff. But I'm not going headlamps in looking for a black bear in trees I can't see 10 feet. It's just silly.
Yeah, if you have a dark colored dog, if you let it out in the yard at night and like it's just gone, you can't see it.
Yeah. There's not that many trees in my yard.
Yeah.
And we're doing all this on about a 30-degree slope of shale and trees.
perfect.
Yeah, right.
So-
Right. Actually, when I shot, I think Keaton was falling down, so
Yeah.
he was in a real great defensive position.
Yeah, I was just getting low for the shot.
Yeah. What's happening?
So we back out.
No, he was backing away from you. That's what was actually happening. He's like, I'm just ready to jet because I'm gonna run faster than Mack.
We back out and we sort of parallel get to a big clearing. Like, okay, now if anything crazy happens, we got time. Like, we got space. Start chucking rocks in the woods to see if we can spook him, see if he's still alive, whatever. After about 5 minutes, we get one final just crashing through the woods. I'm like, oh, he's running again. And then nothing for 10 minutes. I was like, maybe
That was it.
that was it. Maybe he rolled. It's done. So we go back in. We get back to the second shot site. Pick up my brass. I got all 3 pieces of brass from that, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, good.
And start trailing the blood. Look to see if I can find another like blood splatter from a hit. Didn't find anything. Don't know still to this point. Could have penciled. Could have missed him entirely. I
Right.
feel like I'm a pretty good shot, but like in that situation, it's kind of just pull.
Yeah.
So track it. Come through one more opening. Tons of blood. At this point, no more footprints. Like
Lot of
just blood
sliding.
patches. Like somebody's rolling down a hill. And we come on him, piled up in the bottom, and it is big old boar.
Awesome.
6-foot bear. So that was super exciting for first black bear. I mean, the head on this guy was 2 of my hands across.
Yeah.
Just a big old noggin.
All I knew so far is I'd seen the picture that you sent me when you killed him. I think I responded at like 4 a.m. or you were like,
Yeah.
what are you doing up?
Luke says, just totally normal things. Were you at the concert? Like, what was that? I still don't know.
We were headed to that Luke Combs concert.
I gotcha.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So when you were caping him out, did you ever find out if you hit him the other 2 times?
So we, like Keaton said earlier, we're on this stupid steep slope, just falling so much to the point that we kind of get him propped on a rock, but we had to tie a paw to a tree because he just kept
Oh my gosh.
falling down the hill, and we kept falling with him. And he's I mean, it's hard to maneuver. Like they don't have antlers or anything you can grab into on. You don't want to grab the hair and rip it out.
They're very round. So
Yeah, they're rotund.
They want to roll like a ball.
Yeah, they're just balls of jello at that point.
Yeah.
Really dense, heavy jello.
Really dense, heavy jello.
So is it like dark now at
It's
this point?
dark.
pretty much. It's probably by the time we find him, it's sunset probably.
We had
so,
10 minutes before headlamps were on at that point.
Yeah.
So we start the whole cut up gut process and just trying to get that done as quickly as possible. The first shot was, and this is kind of what we think ended up happening. He had just the slightest of quarters when he was on this hill looking at me, and I put like center brisket, so it actually entered like perfect where I wanted it to. But then kind of skirted just past, I think, the lungs and heart because we gutted him to find out. Blew up this shoulder and tore up his jugular and all that stuff.
Yeah, so he's bleeding crazy.
But didn't hit the harder lungs. It just quartered out there.
Okay.
Big old entry hole, actually, surprisingly. I don't know if it exploded some of the breastplate or whatever. It was a surprisingly big entry hole. And looked, and like it was steep and it was dark, so we didn't look super hard. Didn't ever find out if I shot him again the other 2 times. It's possible, but like I said, in that situation, it's very close distance, and I had black in the scope, but I don't know.
So I got to ask, the last time that I was cleaning a bear or whatever, gutting a bear out in like last light, it's getting dark, and we saw it die. Like it was an easy deal. It was with Draper, and we just go up to it. But there's still like this eerie feeling because you're like on this bear. It's like a predator, and you're cutting it up, and you're like, I just wanted to keep checking my back.
Yeah, as you're covered in blood.
Yeah, you're like, are more bears gonna come right now? It's a weird feeling. So, but that was without like the adrenaline rush. So did the adrenaline rush help or hurt?
By the time we'd found him, I think the adrenaline had gone down. I think at that point we were kind of tired, and he was rolling on the hill and being annoying, so it was like less what I was thinking about. Also, I mean, I think there's a huge den at the top of this hill, and I think this was the king of the jungle on that particular hillside. So anything else that would come and eat on that gut pile or try and get us, I think would have to find it after a couple days. So
gotcha. As his turf.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we got him all cut up and quartered, got the hide, did all that stuff, and had to pack it out. We decided to do a one-tripper because we weren't like terribly far from the truck. It was just real steep. Shot the bear at 7 a.m. 7 p.m. Sorry, 7 p.m. And Keaton was cooking cheeseburgers at 3 a.m. in the morning at the truck.
Whoa. Yeah.
It was a long one.
That is a long one. But, hey, great success.
Great success. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Was there a story on like the drive out too, or no story on the drive out? For some reason, I thought you guys said you guys got stuck, but didn't want to tell me that.
We were. It's real quick. Yeah. So we had applied for bait sites this year, and we were going to bait. We actually just saw this bear and shot him, and Keaton still got a bait up there that we're going to do some hunting on, hopefully this upcoming Memorial Day weekend. But there's still a bunch of snow under the trees in certain spots. Most of it's burned off, but the dilemma was, like I said, I never shoot anything on the first day. It never happens. So we had a cooler full of beef trim that was supposed to be in a bait barrel next to a tree, but we were going to take the heavy bait barrel and the heavy meat separately in backpacks.
Right.
And now we have a bunch of bear meat and a cape and a bunch of meat that then got stinky meat that got loaded into the bait barrel, and then we were going up to set the bait site and got stuck in the snow. And I'm like, yeah, it just turned. The whole thing was a bit Western. We had to put the chains on. We got out. We did get his bait set up, but we had to carry the bait barrel with all the meat in it, which is not ideal because it did not fit on a backpack that we had currently.
And at this point, we're running on about 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
It's not important.
we were going to sleep in, but I woke up Keaton, and I think he was going to stab me. I was like, hey, the hide is not cooling down. We need to get it down to my fridge, so we need to set the bait.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It was an adventure. Very exciting. Very excited for a first black bear, and then very excited that, all things told, everybody was safe. Nobody was hurt. We got good memories out of it.
Except for the bear.
Except for the bear.
Except for the bear. R.I.P.
So you're going back out this weekend, Keaton?
Oh, you bet. Yeah. Yep. Leaving after work Friday. We're going to go back up and check on that bait, see what it's looking like.
There's a lot of bears around.
How's a few up in there?
How's the quota looking right now?
When I checked mine in, there was still just 2 out of the 6 limit. So, and that's about 7 boars have been taken.
It's a 6 sow limit.
So,
yeah, quota hadn't changed as of yesterday. Before I went
today's the day to check though. You have 72 hours to check them in.
So
the Monday people like myself, today's the day to find out. But we didn't see a ton up there. We saw a few bear hunters out there. That's one thing I really like about bear hunting is, you go elk hunting these days, you're always running into people, even if you get deep. Not as many people bear hunt, so you just get out and kind of just have it to yourself most of the time.
It's pretty awesome. Thanks for sharing the story, guys.
For sure. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you finally got to hear it, Tyler. Sorry.
Yeah, he made me wait the whole entire time. He's like, "Hey, Tyler, can I buy like when they got the bear back to his house? He's like, "Can I borrow some knives?" But I can't tell you the story. And I kept like asking questions. He's like, "Quit asking questions. You'll hear."
It's like, Tyler, you have to leave. Awesome. I can't tell you this yet.
You gotta wait for the podcast. I mean, if I just went up there and shot him, it'd be one thing. But it's like, that's pretty interesting. We should.
That got kind of Western.
We should. Yeah, it was a bit Western.
Yeah. And 338 RPM for the win.
Heck yeah, good bear medicine right there.
Yay! That's it. We're done.